Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are down here in the big open woods bottom, and we're actually going to be making a new bedding area. So behind me here, I don't know if you can really tell, but there's a food plot back there. And around the food plot, the woods is pretty open. The deer travel in it, but they don't bed in it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do some hinge cutting and just knock some trees down, get some sunlight on the ground, just so that it'll grow up in here, get nice and thick, and the deer will bed in here. So right in front of me here, you can already see that a tree fell over a couple of years ago. That one did. And it has grown up in here a little bit. There's some brush in here, some of this multiflora rose. But just because these big trees, they make so many leaves that it kind of canopies over, and it doesn't really grow in here as much as I'd like. So I might end up taking out some of these smaller trees that are in this opening, and maybe some of the ones that are farther down on that end, down over there. We got a tree stand right in that tree right there. I think I'll probably leave that tree stand for now. I might end up moving it maybe like 20 yards back on this hill, just so that I'm not so close to what I'm trying to make a bedding area. It's a great stand to be aggressive in and hunt during the rut, because the does just cruise through here and the bucks chase them through here like it's nothing. So it's a great stand to be aggressive in, but if I'm trying to hunt it during anything besides the rut, here's the stand, it's almost too aggressive because I'm right on top of the deer. I have to have a perfect wind or they will bust me. So right down in here, we're about 60 yards away from that tree stand. It's in that tree right there. This is kind of like what I want to make this whole area. It's really thick in here, lots of trees on the ground, lots of spots for deer to come up and bed, and it's still open enough that there's plenty of room for them to travel, get out if something's in here chasing them, but it's also thick enough that they have room to hide from something chasing them in here too. Alright, I just wanted to walk around a little bit, show you guys what we're working with, and get myself some sense of what I want to do in this area. Some of you might wonder why I don't take down a big one like this maple right here, or this maple in front of that oak tree. And those ones, I mean, those are just too big for me personally. I'm not that comfortable with the chainsaw. I mean, I'll come show you how big this tree is. I mean, that's just too big for me. This one's probably 50 to 80 years old, and I'm just not that comfortable with the chainsaw to drop a tree quite that size. I mean, these ones right here, if they were alive, one of them's dead, those would be no problem for me. But I just don't love dropping those huge ones. And another thing is, with those big ones, you're losing so much canopy that you might have more of a negative effect than you are of a positive effect. These medium ones are a great way to lose your canopy a little bit and create structure on the ground for the deer to bed up to or bed near and around. Alright, so as you can see, I ended up just cutting this little like 1.5 to 2 foot spot in between here. And then I took out the branches so that if deer are wanting to cruise the outside of this bedding area that I'm making, you can see right here it's not very thick, and right back in there it's a little thicker, kind of goes on and then turns up that way. But this will make it so that a deer can be skirting the edge and they can just walk right through here with ease. And deer are lazy creatures. They are gonna much rather go through this gap rather than that. If you give them the opportunity to go through a nice area that still has enough covered that they feel protected, they're gonna take that route. And if I can make the deer kind of skirt this edge, my tree stand is right up there. Actually, it's in that tree right there. So that will be like a 20-yard shot. Some of you might be wondering, if I'm making this bedding area, which is for does, where the buck's gonna bed. And behind me here, we got this big bowl. And if I had to bet, if I can get does to bed down in here, we're probably gonna have bucks bedding up there on that hillside or somewhere halfway down this bowl. We got a tree stand, I know you can't see it, but it's right up there. And a lot of times in the past years, we've had mature bucks that'll come from like over where the ranger is, and they come up the hill and then there's a ridge up on there that has a cornfield up there, and they come up there. Especially in the early season, they like that area. But I want to make it so that we can get the does bedding as close to the food, which is right down in here, and then the mature bucks are going to stack behind them, which is going to be somewhere in here. All right, so the tree stand, for reference, is right behind me. We got this big opening right here. I think those are coyote dens right in there. Not 100% sure on that. Gonna keep my distance a little bit on them. But that little tree, maybe a few of those trees out there, like that one and that one, we're gonna kind of try to hinge cut them down, and we're not gonna try to make a canopy like a lot of people think. We're just gonna try to put some wood on the ground, and then we're gonna cut a travel corridor along that edge right there. Probably not one here. There's probably already gonna be one if I cut the right trees. All right, so I dropped a few behind me. One over there. Probably can't see them that great, but I dropped a few. I did a pretty big one. Wasn't expecting to do that one, but it was the best one to do in this case. These other trees over here, I'll bring you over here. These other trees right here, oop, behind me, like that one and those ones, they actually are leaning away from the area that I wanted to put them. So I cut this one. This one was pretty big to hinge cut. Didn't go the greatest, but kind of rolled on its edge. But I got a few of them in there. So now we're gonna go through and we're gonna like cut the edge of that one right there. Even though there's no branches, you can make it just that much easier for the deer to walk right there. Like if you just come in here and you just cut right here and right there and just put that to the ground, that's just gonna make it that much easier for the deer to choose this path and to walk through there uninterrupted. That's how you get does to just take expected travel routes, and then the bucks will just follow them. So that's what I do. And I know a lot of you in this case are probably like, well, what the heck? He cut down 3 trees, didn't really do a whole lot. But with this one being so big, it opened up basically that entire area of the canopy right there. And I'll probably cut this one. I'll probably just drop that one, not hinge cut it. And that's just gonna make sunlight get in here. And if sunlight gets in here, new trees will sprout, the deer can eat them. Forage is gonna be in here that the deer can eat, and it'll just make it that much more appetizing for a deer to bed in here. That one's dropping right now. There we go. All right, so right behind me here, we got a bedding area. I'm gonna go up in there and cut some travel corridors here in a second. But I thought I'd just give you guys a quick little view of what that big open bottom looks like for us. So this, what I'm standing in right now, this is gonna be food plot this year. It's gonna be mainly soybeans, and then off of that point, I'm gonna have a strip of corn running down in the middle, just for the deer to walk through, have a little more security. I might do a corn border around it too. All right, so we are in this bedding area. You can see it's pretty thick around me. It's thicker right over here. You can see that. And I'm not even coming in here today to really knock trees down. My main goal today, I'll bring you over to a spot. So you can see I'm walking on a deer trail right here. And right in front of me, there's tree branches all over the deer trail. And I mean, no deer is gonna want to duck through that and walk through that. So I'm just gonna come in here, I'm gonna clean up the travel corridors a little bit, and then I might make one a little farther up on the hill too, but I'm really not gonna mess with this food plot, or this bedding area. It's one of our best bedding areas. It's a natural one too, so the deer really like it. We didn't come in here, we didn't cut any of these trees down. It just kind of made itself over time. So we're not gonna mess with it too much. We're just gonna clean it up a little bit. So this bedding area is actually one that I like to use kind of as a template for the ones I make. As you can see, there's trees falling. Those are pretty old ones, dead ones. I mean, here's a newer one. They don't have leaves growing on them, and they don't have leaves growing on them in the summer either. This is just kind of a structural area. I'm walking you up here a little bit. It gets pretty thick up here. You guys can probably see that now. And that's just from these trees falling down and opening up the canopy. I mean, this one got cut. That was before we even owned this property, is when that one got cut. And this is what I like to use to make my man-made bedding areas as an example. Just showing that you don't have to hinge cut every single tree you see. You can just drop these trees, get sunlight on the ground, and get natural growth, or even, I mean, this stuff isn't really natural, it's just brush, but if you get stuff growing up in here, get it thick, the deer are gonna bed up in here. And even farther away from where I was, I mean, food plot's down there, ranger can't even see it, but I was right back over there, probably about 60 yards away. Even over here where it's more open, there's still plenty of spots where there's trees on the ground and spots for deer to bed. And that just makes a great bedding area to have some diversity. You can have really thick spots, kind of have medium spots, and then you have these open spots. All right, I didn't have a lot to do in this area. I just kind of wanted to bring you guys in here and show you in what my opinion is our best bedding area. But now I'm going to take you over to a bedding area that I cut, I think it was last year. I actually haven't been back there since. All right guys, so we made it back here to this bedding area. It's behind me. I'll get up there and I'll show you it a little closer, but I can already tell that there's more deer tracks in here than there was in years prior, so that means there's definitely more deer moving through here. It used to just be open. You could see there's through this whole thing, and as you can see, I hinge cut some trees. You can see them right there and there, and did one right here. Didn't grow up a ton in the first year, but that's not unusual or anything. You can tell that there was grass growing in here, like well, that's just some vines, but like in here there's weeds and grass, which means that there was more sunlight getting to the ground. I don't know what's making all these holes. There's another hole right there. I found a few more of them coming back, but as you can see, I did some hinge cutting in here. Didn't really drop that many trees. I mainly hinge cut in here just because it was so open, and I needed to make it so that deer couldn't see across this entire span of woods. Here's one that caught on that tree, but like this one, this hinge cut looks like the tree was still alive. It looks like it dropped all its leaves, but it doesn't really look like the tree died from that one. That one right there, this one, and that one are all ironwoods, and those ones don't really do the best with hinge cutting, but I just put these ones down and left the tops on for structure in that case. But it's still extremely open in here, and I'm hoping in the next couple of years either I'll come in here and do some more cutting, or it will just naturally get like shrubs and brush growing in there so it gets thick. Because you can see, I mean, you can see on the camera that you can just see this entire area, and right here there's no trees for quite a span. Surprised that there's not stuff grown in here. And it looks like there's a scrape right here, but it did work a little bit what I did. I mean, obviously on the first year you're not going to see the perfect results that you want, but just the fact that there's more deer tracks back here makes me know that it did work a little bit, and that what I did wasn't just a complete waste of time. Look at this scrape. That's quite a big scrape. It actually has a divot in the ground. Looks like it can hold water. And here's another one right here. So this could have been an area that a buck bed, with how many scrapes are in here. I'm not seeing a ton of rubs, but there's a lot of scrapes back in here, which makes me think either the does were bedding in here like crazy, or the bucks were bedding in here like crazy and making scrapes or rubs during all sorts of the year. If it was does in here, those were probably made during the rut. When I initially was back in here, there was a bed back in there when I was back in here last year making all this cutting. I don't see it anymore. It's hard to tell without the snow, but I mean, you can see, maybe you can't see, I'll zoom in a little bit, but like down there I cut some. I just wanted to make this woods not so open. I just wanted to put some trees on the ground and get something to break up the sight path through here, so that if deer were even walking through here, they would feel more comfortable. All right guys, that's probably gonna wrap up the video for today. Thank you for watching through the whole thing. I know it was kind of a long one, but I had a lot I wanted to show you. You guys make sure to stay tuned in the next couple weeks, or a month at least. We're gonna be burning that prairie. That should be a really cool video. We'll be planting some cover crops and a few food plots. We're gonna be planting those soybeans and some corn. We'll be finishing that new food plot that I built. Probably won't plant in there until August that we'll probably do brassicas in there. But we'll be getting the tree stand up and getting it cleared with the brush hog, so stay tuned, guys.